Welcome to the Hall of Echoes of the Grand Library of the city of Zahra. This is where reports arrive of discoveries, expeditions, and events already shaping the world. Some are confirmed, others survive only through witness. I am Idris Nahir, Keeper of Echoes. I mark what is known and I name what is uncertain, because silence is also a choice. These are the matters before Zahra. It has been a most wonderful weekend, and I'm sure you are all rested and recovered after the fanfare. Yes, the Malik's eldest son Yiorgos has come of age. The Palace of Light, Qasur al-Nur, was abuzz with excitement all weekend long. I myself had the grand pleasure of attending Yiorgos' birthday gala, and it was nothing short of spectacular. The palace was gleaming and filled with eager faces. I felt the arcana in every pore as I walked through the starlit halls and felt the power of the spirits. Dinner was, of course, decadent. A meal I'll remember for the rest of my life. But I'll not bore you with those details of just how succulent the lamb truly was, when you're waiting in the grand hall for something much more titillating than talk of food. It seems chaos has taken a hold of our city in the midst of the revelry. After festivities came to an end, we have been left with talk of strikes and rebellion, and several cases of missing kinfolk are currently being investigated. 3 kinfolk, their names currently unknown to me, have reportedly not returned home since the beginning of the celebration. Investigators have interviewed family and friends who might have any idea about where they are, but they are under the impression the missing kinfolk are simply wrapped in their revelry and will return home soon. Their families, however, disagree. They say it is unlike them to disappear like this, and grow more worried by the hour. If you've noticed anything amiss during the celebration, the authorities would be keen for information. The Dwarven Labor Union has been hard at work hoping for the celebration to become a yearly holiday. Even though they were denied, it has not stopped them from holding up in Union Square in protest. Indeed, they put up a good fight, even with the Stormshapers Collective fighting back. The Stormshapers hired mercenaries to break up the protests, resulting in quite the battle. Nevertheless, the labor union remained steadfast and held their ground until the celebration was over. Unfortunately for the Stormshapers, that means they've lost days of work and are struggling to recover. You might have heard rumors of all of the astrological and mystical prophecies about Yiorgos spread through the city. I am here with the official prophecies by the Royal Society of Zahra and the Circle of 1,000 Threads. The Royal Society of Zahra has surveyed the stars above and prophesied that Yiorgos will be the light in our darkest times. As underwhelming as he might seem now, his future apparently speaks differently. Their official statement: Yiorgos was born under a very rare celestial alignment, one that marks him as an axis that would hold the fate of the world in balance. The stars themselves have told us that he will endure and carry Zahra alongside him. The Circle of 1,000 Threads performed many public tellings of fortune, some of which I had the privilege of seeing. But their official statement comes from the Wylde itself, where the great minds of the Circle closely monitor the threads of our reality. Their statement: every thread has the power to destroy what is left of our unraveling world, but few of us have the power to weave themselves into the pattern and strengthen the threads that bind us to Zahra like Yiorgos. Yes, both prophecies we have received of the Malik's son have situated him as a savior in the darkest of times. Of course, both peoples are deeply tied to the aristocracy and might perhaps be biased. Make of that what you will. I myself enjoyed many street performances by the members of the Illuminated Petal. Not only did they compose and perform ballads that I believe will be sung for eons, but many street performers recounted the details of our Malik's ascension to leadership. Not all of them were favorable, but be that as it may, they were entertaining, a double-edged sword of being the leader of a city as grand as ours. Historically speaking, whenever there has been a grand celebration such as this, chaos has unfolded under the surface. Why should this birthday celebration be any different? There's truly no better opportunity to operate without scrutiny than a celebration with streets as crowded as they were this weekend. In recent days, we've learned of two events happening during the event, one of which is the reason you are all here today. You wish to know what has happened to Ismail Masalis's daughter, Aylen. I promise you, we will get to that in due time. But first, we must discuss an artifact. Yes, of course, the Grand Library is prioritizing the recapture of an impressive artifact over everything else. It is, after all, our ethos to do so. This particular artifact has become an object of infatuation for nearly every people in the city. You see, it is a grammaturgical artifact that could change everything we know of grammaturgy. The library has yet to get its hands on it, so I know not all the details, but this artifact, to our knowledge, is sentient. Yes, you heard me correctly. An object created by grammaturgy has formed its own consciousness. How? We do not know. But we hope to get our hands on it to study and hold it within our archives. However, we are not the only ones looking. We are contending with peoples like the Adder's Hand and the Ruad al-Majur, all with their own motives and ideals about the artifact. Its whereabouts are currently unknown to us, but I doubt it will remain that way for much longer. An artifact like this is bound to leave a trail behind it wherever it goes. Our symposium today won't be focusing on this artifact, at least not entirely. All of you are here waiting for the information regarding the evidence being presented in the trial of the Banu Asrar against the Wylde chamber. The Banu Asrar are no stranger to controversy in Zahra. They act as unofficial justice with their masked judges taking matters into their own hands to ensure nobody is too powerful. A recent ruling of theirs led to a surprising death in the city. The Wylde chamber has been fighting tirelessly against them in an effort to make them answer for their crimes. All of the documents I'll be reading you today have been obtained through various sources the library has throughout Zahra. Some of these are official documentation, and some could very well have powerful people coming for my head. Regardless, it is important that all citizens of Zahra have access to information so we know what is going on beneath the surface. I won't spoil many of the details and I'll let you uncover them as I read. But be warned, dear listener. If reports of illness, hospitals, children becoming sick and dying, and attacks on the young are disturbing to you, then I urge you to leave the hall today and come back another day. These documents can be very disturbing. I ask you this, who is at fault here? Does pain beget pain? Death beget death? Who gets to decide who lives and who dies? What does justice truly mean? These are the questions I want you to think of as I read. Without further ado, let us begin. From the Journal of Constant Simeon, Arbiter of the Wylde Chamber. An underling visited me today. As they walked into my office, I felt my irritation rising. We've had much on our agendas and the celebration for Yiorgos, and being interrupted was nearly infuriating. The boy, whose name I never asked, informed me that Ismail would be absent indefinitely due to an illness in the family. I inquired more, but the boy was of no help. It was not until I walked to the hospital myself to confront Ismail about this that I learned the truth. His daughter, Aylen, had been stricken with a very strange disease, one that the healers at the Children of the Merciful Hospital did not understand. Upon seeing the girl, I felt guilt swirl in my stomach. She looked on death's door. Ismail and I had worked closely together for years, and I have watched Aylen grow. She was no longer the vibrant youth I had grown accustomed to seeing wandering the streets of Zahra. Her cheeks were hollow and the skin around her eyes so dark and sunken she looked skeletal. It made me think of the undead patriarchs in the Black Dais, of how unnerved I get every time I go to commune with them. I asked Ismail about what happened and what they knew of her illness. Eileen recounted a story for me, her voice shaking as she tried to breathe deeply enough to speak. She told me how she was at the celebration, wandering through the crowds and eating the street food being offered by the horde keepers. She wanted to attend a performance of a bard from the illuminated petal Niatzi was putting on in a tea house. As she was walking, she was swarmed by a crowd of guests, walking opposite to them like a fish swimming upstream. She could feel them pulling her away, not intentionally, but she was struggling. After a few moments, she felt hands on her, holding her in place. She fought back against them when a small prick in her arm made her yelp before she clapped her hands over. When she looked down, she saw the smallest drop of blood, wiping it away to see a wound from a needle. When she looked for her assailant, they were gone as if they'd vanished into thin air. This was enough for us to begin our investigation. Eileen was the daughter of an important kinfolk in Zahra. We will not let this attack go unpunished. Investigation report of Constant Simeon, arbiter of the Wylde chamber. The first I learned of Canaan and Ile was during my investigation into Eileen's mysterious illness. Both of them are low-born members of the Garden of Mycelium Memories, so we would not cross paths on any normal day. But as I was investigating for Ismail, my conversations led me to the Mycelial Garden. The gnomes who work there always seem to know what's happening in the city. It is, after all, their job to record everything for posterity's sake. They learn of events and carry those memories with them until they die, when their bodies will be given over to mycelium, feeding our history back into the earth. Having never been here before, I was immediately stricken with the beauty of the garden. Had I been visiting during more pleasant circumstances, I might have lingered for a while and enjoyed the sights. Seeing the glowing large mushrooms jutting from the ground, climbing the walls, was an almost spiritual experience. The air was moist and the scent of fresh soil and iron was thick in the air. For a while, it made sense to me why so many kinfolk would dedicate their lives to tending to this garden. I was not sure if I would find anything useful. But as I walked on, I eventually came across a man. He knelt on the ground in front of a shallow grave. I could see the outline of a child among the mycelium threads encircling her body. I stopped moving and watched him for a moment, listening as he whispered the name Ilya, talking to her about the food she enjoyed and books she loved to read. I inquired about it with another gardener, and they told me it was Canaan. He was communing with his daughter. He needed to know that she, only 10 years old when she passed, would not be forgotten. The gardener, not recognizing me as being from the Wylde chamber, began ranting about how cruel it was for Ilya to be dismissed from the hospital with the illness that plagued her. As he described her symptoms, I thought more of Eileen. Could it be the same illness? Perhaps visiting the garden was useful after all. Record of health for Ile, daughter of Canaan, recorded by Saban Kish of the Banu al-Rahman. Patient Ile, daughter of Canaan, is 10 years of age, female, underweight, admitted to the Children of the Merciful by her father Canaan for difficulty breathing. Upon her medical examination, performed by healer Nasia, shallow breathing was observed and she heard a crackling noise within her lungs. The patient exhibited signs of fatigue, fever, and elevated blood pressure. The official diagnosis is the glass Ague. This is the first case in 10 years. The father, Canaan, has been questioned regarding his daughter's whereabouts to determine how she contracted the illness. No known source has been found and is pending further investigation. It is a peculiar illness, to say the least. Looking through medical journals and books, we have a vague understanding of how the illness forms and impacts patients. But being as rare as it is, there has never been an extensive study performed about how to cure it. There have been many attempts, some successful, some not. It is, for lack of better terms, completely unpredictable. At the core of the illness is a calcification of the lungs, crystallizing the tissue. It turns what would normally be soft pink flesh into hard milky white crystals. In fact, the disease is so rare and the crystals created by it so sought after that the lungs of a patient stricken with this illness can become quite valuable after death. After consulting the books, I have come up with a treatment plan for the patient. It's unclear if it will actually help or not. Close monitoring will be required, but the hospital is already so full and our staff short due to the upcoming celebration. The patient has been started on an herbal remedy to decrystallize the portion of her lungs that have calcified and given strict orders of bed rest. The prognosis is unknown at this time. The Ague is not easily thwarted, but healers remain hopeful she might recover. The father has been instructed of realistic outcomes and informed that she may very well succumb to the illness. I have advised him to begin preparing for that outcome. Banu Asrar, Tribunal of Redress, Testimony by Judge Witness. Canaan listener beneath lanterns petitioned the Tribunal of Redress for aid in getting justice for his sick daughter. He came to us and pleaded his case, informing us of how his daughter, Ilya, was removed from the Children of the Merciful Hospital while still in dire need of medical attention. The glass Ague, as she was diagnosed, is not treatable without intervention. A precise herbal remedy is required alongside palliative care to keep the patient rested and comfortable. In other words, it is not something one can sleep off or take a simple apothecary's tincture to alleviate. Ilya was in need of medical care and denied it. She had been admitted to the hospital, and Canaan informed us that Saban Kish told him she was likely to die of her illness. Canaan begged him to continue treatment. She was admitted for care and the promise was made to do all they could. A day later, as Ilya had not even been given time to recover, Canaan was informed Ilya would be removed from the hospital. Upon inquiring about why, he was told she was a lost cause, that the beds were needed for patients who might actually survive. Hope was lost on his daughter and he had no option but to take her home. 2 days later, he held her in his arms as she died, struggling to breathe and begging her father for help. A week has passed in mourning of his daughter, and he has sought out the 5 judges of the Tribunal of Redress, knelt before us, and asked for our help. It is our creed to oblige him. Judge Silence has tattooed our agreement on his arm. We have agreed to seek justice for Ilya and right this great imbalance once more. Canaan has made a sacred vow of silence and servitude for our aid. He has provided us with documentation of all the wrongdoings, and we will uphold our own private counsel to confer about how to seek justice for Canaan and Ilya. Until then, Canaan is to continue his normal life until we reach out to him. Once the justice is done, he will owe us our debt of servitude, to be collected at an undetermined time. Investigative autopsy report of Ilya, daughter of Canaan, performed by Varek Khan. The subject is female, about 10 years of age, brought to me by her father to determine the cause of death. Her father has informed me she was hospitalized for the glass Ague, but he wishes to know if she could have been saved. If more hope had been afforded to her, she'd be running through the streets and laughing today. I would not normally question a diagnosis like this from the Children of the Merciful, but a favor was called in from the Banu Asrar, so I obliged. Once this task is done, my tattoo will disappear and I will owe them no longer. Upon investigating, I discovered the subject's lungs were not fully encapsulated in crystals as expected. Evidence of tiny crystalline material in her blood tells me the crystals in her lungs were in fact breaking down, signaling successful treatment. It is my professional opinion that had treatment not been stopped so abruptly, the subject might have recovered from the illness. Banu Asrar, Tribunal of Redress, testimony by Judge Mercy. With Canaan dismissed from the tribunal, the 5 judges spoke at length about Ilia's justice. Canaan presented medical files and information clearly pointing to the death of his daughter being preventable had she not been denied medical care. Judge Redress, our leader, initiated an investigation of the hospital. He called upon an ally who worked as a healer there, who once sought our help getting justice for unwarranted tax collected on their property, leading to them losing their home. Our source shall remain unnamed to protect them. With their help, we were able to procure documentation about the situation leading to Ilia being rejected from the hospital. It was uncovered that Saban Kish terminated Ilia's stay at the hospital after speaking with Ismail Masalis. His daughter had come down with a fever and the aches in her back had been bothering her. In their conversation, Ismail cited how excited Aylan had been for Yiorgos' birthday celebration and how badly she wanted to feel better by the weekend. Ismail called in a favor with Saban to get his daughter a treatment bed. With an otherwise full hospital, that meant Saban needed someone else to go home. He set his sights on Ilia, a girl whose prognosis he did not look favorably upon. Of course, had he waited just a day, he would have likely seen significant progress. But he was too impatient, and he had made his decision. Ilia was to go, and Aylan was to take her place. Aylan's illness was minor, and she needed a day of rest and was tended to by healers. She was discharged in the morning as Ilia was back home with her father dying. Bearing the mask of mercy, it is my duty to weigh the options of our retribution. Is what happened to young Ilia merciful? No. She was not given the care she deserved. It is of the ideology in Zahra that the wealthy are more valuable than the poor. Because Aylan has spent her life in gilded halls and made prominent connections among wealthy patriarchs and aristocrats, her life was deemed more valuable. But that is not our decision to make. All lives in Zahra are equal, regardless of creed or wealth. To choose one's comfort over another's life is worthy of punishment, of justice. It is my opinion that Saban Kish and Ismail Masales both be made to face justice for this crime. Record of health for Aylan Masales, recorded by healer Nasia. The patient is 18, female, outwardly in bad health. She visited us several days ago with symptoms of fever and exhaustion. No official diagnosis was made at the time. She was treated with anti-inflammatory herbal remedy, rest, and hydration. After 12 hours of hospitalization, she reported feeling better and was discharged. 3 days ago, the patient came to us with a mysterious pinprick on her arm. Shortly after being struck by, presumably, a needle while in the streets of Yiorgos' birthday celebration, she began feeling ill. However, her illness came upon her quickly. Upon arriving at the Children of the Merciful, she reported shakiness, deep exhaustion, numbness, and tingling in her lower extremities. A sharp headache has formed behind her eyes, and we've administered more anti-inflammatory remedies to stave off the illness as long as we can. She's been here for 3 days and has only worsened. No remedy we give her seems to have an effect. Her eyes are sunken and dark, her skin pale and clammy, and she reports constant aches throughout her body. Given the circumstances, we have surmised that the needle she was struck with had been contaminated with something. But without knowing what that was, we cannot administer a proper antidote. An investigation has begun at the hands of the Wylde chamber to uncover everything they can about her unknown assailant and figure out what she was infected with. That might be our only hope of getting her help. Myself and other healers have been consulting journals and books, moving between the hospital and the Grand Library of Zahra at every chance possible in the hopes we might uncover something. But until we do, we're doing our best to keep her comfortable, as trying as that might be. It seems that nothing is able to rid her of the aches and chills she feels. Her father has visited her only once. It is our belief that the company of a loved one might lighten her spirits enough to allow her to heal. Every time we advise him of this, he informs us that he has something else very important to tend to. What that is, we don't know. For now, myself and some other healers are taking turns visiting her and keeping her company. Healer Saban has visited her several times too. He seems to think that this illness is another bout of the fever she experienced when she visited us the first time. None of us argue with him, but we all know this to be false. I suppose only time will tell. Until we receive information about whatever she was infected with, we can only pray that she will recover. Banu Asrar, Tribunal of Redress, testimony by Judge Equity. The 5 judges agreed on who should be punished for their crimes, but how was the real debate. Judge Silence and Judge Witness both agreed on monetary compensation for Kanan. They thought it important that he be compensated for the pain of losing a loved one as well as the expenses incurred by her hospitalization, illness, and death. Their argument swayed the other 3 judges, and Judge Redress sent a group of thieves to Ismail Masalis's home in order to collect. Later, they returned to us with a chest filled with fulgurite and a curious artifact we still have much to learn about. Myself and Judge Redress both agreed that financial compensation was not enough for the loss Kanan has faced. It is seen far too often in Zahra that the wealthy get away with their crimes because of their status. What is a chest filled with fulgurite to Ismail Masalis when he has more than we'd ever stand to capture? To properly seek justice, we would have to take something of equal measure. Restore the balance. Saban Kish has no children of his own, but by implicating him in the tragic death of Ilya, daughter of Kanan, we can ensure he loses his position with the children of the merciful. Ismail, on the other hand, will suffer more dearly. It is our agreement that Ismail is made to pay for his involvement in Ilya's death by feeling the same things Kanan did. Perhaps by realizing his own folly, he might be more caring in the future. To get proper justice, Aylin Masalis must die. Journal of Kanan Listener Beneath Lanterns of the Gardeners of Mycelial Memory. Dear sweet Ilya, how I miss you. When I think of you now, it shatters my heart to pieces. Memories of you are scattered all over our home and in the gardens. It seems I cannot escape you even if I wish to. I have visited with you in the mycelial garden where you've been buried next to your mother. I knelt on the ground by the large, glowing purple mushrooms you were always so fascinated by. Do you remember the first time I brought you to the gardens? Oh, how you looked around with such wonder. It brings a smile to my face thinking of it now. Your mother never understood our love for the garden, but before she passed, she asked me to bury her there. She wanted to tell the mycelium about you, about how much you meant to her because no other memory she had mattered anymore. You were all she cared about, all she wanted to be remembered for. When we spoke about you, she spoke about your favorite color, how you liked your hair only in one braid because two is too complicated. How at breakfast you've been known to put your vegetables under your plate as if she wouldn't discover it when cleaning. She laughed and smiled the entire time, Ilya. I hoped I'd do the same. Perhaps I was being optimistic, a feeling I do not know I will ever feel again now that you are gone. I sense a darkness coming for me, and I do not wish to face it. I've done something bad now, too. The Banu Asrar are dangerous, but they help people, Ilya. People like us, kinfolk who have been left behind and ignored. I might not like what they do, or what they ask of me when they call on me at another point in my life. But I know they will honor our agreement. They will honor you, Ilya, and they will seek justice in your name. Journal of Ismail Masalis of the Wylde Chamber. My life lately has become more stressful than expected. Aylin, my youngest daughter, is sick with a mysterious illness we cannot treat. I don't know who would have hurt her at the celebration, but it's clear that someone did. Somebody saw her with malicious intentions and swarmed around her to stick her with some sort of infection. It pains me to see her struggling. I would give anything to sit at her bedside and hold her hand, praying that she would get better. But I simply cannot do that. As a member of the Wylde Chamber, I've been working alongside Constance to try and understand what this illness is and who could have caused it. The motive behind it is most peculiar. Why would someone attack Aylin? I'm aware that the sentiment towards aristocrats in the city is at an all-time low, but even so, my family keeps to themselves. We don't meddle in the affairs of the lowborn of the city. We don't try to control peoples the way that other members do. I am affiliated with the Wylde Chamber because my father and his father before him were. It makes no sense why we would be targeted like this. I have no choice but to think of this as a purposeful attack now. Not only was my daughter attacked, but my home was broken into. Something important was taken from us. This artifact, if you can call it that, is of the utmost importance to recover. It is the very reason I am not sitting at Aylin's bedside right now making sure she is getting better. How could I possibly do that when something so powerful might be unleashed into the wrong hands of the city? I do not care about the fulgurite and gems that were taken from us. Recovering this artifact is integral. Aylin, I wish that you will someday forgive me for abandoning you right now. In my heart, I know that you will recover. I know that whatever has befallen you is only temporary, and you are strong and you will be able to fight it and come back home. Years from now, I'll tell you about this artifact, and you'll understand why I could not be there. Constance was already aware of the artifact's existence, and she has been helping me with recovering information about it. We have eyes all over Zahra right now in search of this. A very generous reward has been named for its safe return to us. I can only hope that it's promising enough to keep it out of the hands of the people that might want to claim it for themselves. Word has already gotten back to me that the Adder's Hand has been aggressively searching for it. That tells me rumors have already spread about this artifact's capabilities, how it seems to have its very own mind. You see, the Adder's Hand is altruistic to a fault. They pride themselves on their virtue and how they steal artifacts curated by the wealthy to give them back to the refugees who abandon them. I can only imagine the heroics they'll go through for something they believe to have a spirit. This technology does not, though. How could something made by the hands of a blacksmith and a tinkerer have a spirit? It is nothing more than grammaturgy that gives the presence of consciousness. But even so, this artifact is constantly evolving. I hardly know what it is from one day to the next. I can't imagine how it could be impacted when I don't see it for days or weeks at a time. I've dedicated a large amount of my time to finding this artifact, and I won't give up until it is back in the vault of my home. I don't know what I'm going to do with it after that. Now that the truth of it is out, it won't be easy to make people forget. And I can't help wondering now if my daughter falling ill the way she has is some sort of distraction. That's the only sense I can make of this. Banu Asrar, Tribunal of Redress, Testimony by Judge Redress. The meaning of redress is the foundation of the Banu Asrar. It's to set something right, to alleviate pain, justify a grievance. It is to once again balance the scales of justice and prevent them from tipping in one's favor. It is our creed, our ethos, the reason the 5 judges put on our masks and hear the complaints of the citizens of Zahra. Without the tribunal, there would be no punishment for the elite of the city. They would not have anything to fear because they are above the laws that they make. They wouldn't have to worry about being in prison or executed. To speak out against them would be a death sentence. We are highly sought after for that very reason. Not even just by the citizens of Zahra who have been wronged by aristocrats who use them as nothing more than hands to add fulgurite shards to their accounts. But the wealthy and the elite of Zahra seek us out to end us. Once one has a taste for power, they're always hungry for more. They can't know true power until there is no consequence. We are the face of consequence. We do not take pleasure in justice as many think we do. I do not smile as it is decided a young girl whose life has only begun is to die, but it is what has to be done. We sent our champions out into the celebration to find her. It wasn't hard. She was wandering around with friends, watching performances, and enjoying the day like everyone else in the city. They followed her, and when she was finally alone, they infected her. The illness is not the same as what Ilya faced. In fact, the glass Ague is so rare that we wouldn't have the ability to find it to infect her with. We called in a debt from a scholar in the Royal Society of Zahra who has spent much of their life documenting various illnesses and trying to find cures. This scholar grew up in a poor shack on the outskirts of the city, and their mother was killed in front of them by a drunken aristocrat who did not care about the life he was ending for sheer entertainment. We made a pact with them when they were just a child. They had everything taken from them. The kinfolk who cared for them put a roof over their head and fed them. The promise of their entire future was ripped from their grasp in an instant. So the aristocrat was killed and a large sum of money was given to the child. It's been decades since the debt was accrued. They did not almost want to uphold their end of the bargain. Things have changed in their life since they were a child. They are comfortable with a family of their own and too much to risk by helping the Banu Asrar. But they know that we are consequence. Denying their debt would be death. We collected vials of blood infected with different diseases and illnesses and had this scholar make us a special concoction. Something new, undetectable. Something that would go undiagnosed and untreated. After injecting Eileen with it, we've been watching closely at the hospital to know when our part is finished. We've heard rumors of how bad she is. It's only a matter of time before she's gone and justice is served. But seemingly more important than that right now is the artifact we somehow stumbled into. What it is, we do not know. But why was it hiding away in the halls of Ismail Masalis's home? The artifact speaks to us. We have encountered grammaturgical items that have voices attached, pre-spoken sentences that warn people to stay away from a room or home. But this is different. It feels like the artifact is watching us, learning from us. It understands our motives and it adds context to everything we do. The most disturbing part is that it almost looks like a kinfolk. It's clearly not, as its face is metal. It's something once crafted in a laboratory, but it now speaks like it is one of us. Judge Silence has instructed us not to interact with it if possible. We don't know how long it will be in our hands. If it is truly learning from us, we cannot allow it any identifying information. The mystery behind the 5 judges of the tribunal is important. Without it, the aristocrats of the city would send mercenaries to slit our throats in our sleep. For now, we are watching the artifact carefully, trying to understand it as best we can. But there's something so deeply unnerving about it. Death report of Aileen Masalis, recorded by Saban Kish. After 5 days of hospitalization, Aileen Masalis has succumbed to the mysterious illness that brought her here. We still know nothing of the disease or virus that has been inflicted upon her. The investigation of the Wylde chamber has brought no information forward yet. Ismail, the patient's father, was heartbroken by the news. I informed him in person about his daughter's death and comforted him for a while. He ordered us to investigate her closer now that she's gone. He wants us to do everything in our power to discover what caused this so he can extract his revenge. I don't know if that will be of any help to him at this point. I attempted to tell him that his best course of action would be resting and remembering her fondly as he prepared for the funeral. But instead, he stormed out of the hospital with ire on his face. He swore to me that he would ruin me if I did not get to the bottom of what happened to his daughter. I remained calm and professional, still doing my best to comfort him in this dire time. We will do as he requests and perform a medical examination of her now. We are hoping that we will find answers. Anonymous letter to Ismail Masalis. By the time you are reading this letter, your daughter will have died. Her spirit thrust into the claustrum forevermore. I suppose you are wondering why this would happen to her. It's come to my attention that she told staff at the Children of the Merciful about the needle that pricked her. Indeed, that is likely the cause of her death. I would implore you to think about everything you've done lately that could have angered someone. The issue with this is that you hold no accountability for your actions, no weight for your decisions. You make decisions about others' lives and do not have to think twice. So because the reason Aileen died is likely nowhere on your conscience, I will tell you. You valued minor pains that your daughter felt so highly that another was kicked out of the hospital. A young girl, just 10 years old, had her entire life taken from her because she could not fight the illness alone. She needed healing, and you deemed it less important than Aileen. You might not have been the one to go to the girl and tell her she had to leave, but you are the reason. You are the catalyst that took her entire life away from her. This is your retribution. Consider the scales of justice balance once more. Journal of Constant Simeon, Arbiter of the Wylde Chamber. Ismail showed me the letter, and there is no doubt in my mind that this is the hands of the Banu Asrar. I have reread each word 1,000 times by now, and the anger I feel is still strong in my veins. If they wanted to get revenge, they could have hurt Ismail, not his daughter. She had nothing to do with his decision. Saban Kish also received a letter. The only difference was that his letter was sent to his home and the leader of the Banu al-Rahman. It's come to my attention that Saban has been ousted from his position with the Children of the Merciful. I suppose kicking a very sick child out of a hospital does not exactly qualify as merciful. It's clear now that if the Banu Asrar are responsible for the death of Aileen, they are also likely responsible for the theft of the artifact. That means they must have the artifact Ismail is looking for. Even though the letter itself was anonymous, not naming the girl who died or the kinfolk who petitioned the Banu Asrar for their aid, I believe I know who it is. The man from the mycelial garden. The one who was weeping over the loss of his child. The times add up when I think about it. We might not be able to get justice from the Banu Asrar, but we can get something by seeking out this man. Killing him isn't going to solve any problems. Despite the loss of Island, I can understand where the man is coming from. He lost his daughter, and in his state of grief he wanted revenge. If we cannot get revenge against him, he might be able to help us find the Banu Asrar members responsible for Island's death. Journal of Canaan, listener beneath lanterns. It's been days since I've been home. This has been the most trying week of my entire life. I was in the garden tending to the mycelium when I was approached by a band of mercenaries. They grabbed me, nearly kicking and screaming as my fellow gardeners tried to stop them. They brought me to a room below the city, shrouded in black. There I sat for what felt like days when someone finally came into the room. It was an elvish woman. I learned her name was Constance. She had an air about her, a quiet grace that was so calm and collected it was unnerving. She did not tell me why I was there at first, only asking me questions about my work at the garden and what happened with Ilya. After a while, it became clear what she was looking for. She wanted information about the Banu Asrar. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything I could tell her. I might have met with the Tribunal of Redress, but I did not see their faces. Even then, I did not go to the Tribunal myself. I was brought there with a blindfold over my eyes. Every passing moment I gave her information, I felt the tattoo on my arm stinging as if he could hear every word and was reporting back to the Tribunal. I have not heard from them since I left the room, but I was assured that justice would be repaid. At home, a chest full of fulgurite was waiting in my kitchen one day. I assumed that was it. But toward the end of our conversation, she revealed that an aristocrat's daughter died, and they were linking it to the death of my daughter. As I think about it now, I'm not sure how to feel. Had I not gone to the tribunal, it seems this other girl would still be alive. She was not the one who took my daughter's space on her own volition. She did not infect my daughter with the disease that killed her. Yet it was my words, my pleas, that took her life. A part of me thinks I should feel happy. The aristocrats of the city don't care about us. They never have, and it's not likely they ever will. But I feel responsible. I think about all the things she could have accomplished in her life and how they were taken away from her, just like they were taken from my sweet Ilya. All of this is my fault. Journal of Constant Simeon, Arbiter of the Veiled Chamber. Canaan might not have told us anything useful about the Banu Asrar, but one thing he did share was how to get in touch with them. We've known of their tribunal for quite some time. It's been a thorn in the side of every aristocrat in the city. We have always had to keep an eye out, looking for petty thieves looking to steal from us to give back to a citizen they felt were overtaxed or did not get compensated enough for their work. We've heard stories of larger, more violent instances of the Banu Asrar getting involved in their lives. Now that this has happened, that they have taken the life of someone close to me and Ismail, we will not let them get away with it. I have hired several groups of mercenaries and sent them into the city disguised in search of Banu Asrar members. They go to tea houses and taverns, marketplaces and city alleyways, telling stories about injustice that has happened to them and how they might get recompense for it. When they are directed to a member of the Banu Asrar, we capture them. We've had a slew of the Banu Asrar members and allies filling up the darkened rooms of the Black Dais under the city. If they are going to attack us with mysterious diseases, we need to know what they are. We have to be able to fight back against them. But right now, more importantly, we need the artifact. If we can find this tribunal, then maybe we can find it. Right now, it doesn't look like we'll be slowing down anytime soon either. There seems to be an unending amount of people supporting the Banu Asrar and keeping their secrets. We see the tattoos on their arms. I can't go now to the market without spotting similar marks on 10 strangers. It's only a matter of time before the artifact falls into the wrong hands. We have to get it back. If we have to gather every single kinfolk in Zahra to question them, we will. We won't stop until we have it back. There you have it. A heartbreaking tale of revenge and justice. What does one mean without the other? Can you truly have justice without revenge? And I think we all know that revenge does not make a situation any better. Take Canaan listener beneath lanterns as an example of that. I hope you've all kept the questions I asked in mind. What do you think now? Does death beget death? Does one injustice equal another? I don't think anyone here has the answer to that question. But what I know is that 2 innocent lives were taken. Neither was justified. Both of these girls were wrong by systems they've had no part in. Elia died because her life was deemed less valuable than Aylin's. Aylin died because of a choice her father made. It's a tragedy it takes such extreme measures to make us think of this. To our knowledge, this artifact is still out there, possibly in the hands of the Banu Asrar. Though they are quite smart. I'm sure by now they've learned of all their allies being captured and dragged away for questioning and have gotten rid of it in some way. It's most peculiar. I'm sure it won't be the last we hear of this artifact though. If the Banu Asrar did get rid of it, I'm sure someone else is bound to find it, and it's going to pass between peoples in the city. I can only hope I get my hands on it at some point. I am most intrigued by this mysterious artifact and what purpose it was made for. For now, I have shared all I can share. But do not fret. We have expeditions out in Aporia now in search of exciting new artifacts and due to return with exciting journals filled with details of their adventures. Until we meet again, my dear friends, take care of yourselves and please be kind. It might be all we truly have in this world. This account is now entered into the record of the Hall of Echoes. Some of what you have heard tonight is confirmed. Some remains disputed. All of it has been preserved because silence too alters the future. The Hall of Echoes continues its work through those willing to support the preservation of testimony, field reports, and recovered records from lands already sleeping beyond reach. Those who wish to patronage future reports may do so through the library's public ledger at patreon.com/Echoes of Aporia. And if this account proves worth remembering, carry it with you. Speak it clearly. Repeat it faithfully where knowledge is needed. The Hall exists so that truth may travel further than silence. I am Idris Nahir, Keeper of Echoes for the Library of Zahra.
No great stay, no new homes where third sides play, no great heroes, no last stand. Leave the place, take who you can. First you watch and second you go. Third you never choose to know. The world warns soft before it screams. It eats the bold who miss the seams. Those who listen live and tell songs of places that fell to hell.